Hey guys, this is the Revolutionary Male. My name is Alex, and tonight I'm going to go ahead and do another article from Carolyn Beccia. It's an article, it's an author that I read something from before, and this is, I think, something I'm going to do more consistently. Is when I find an author who writes stuff that I don't particularly agree with or like, I'm going to go ahead and dip into other stuff that they've written and maybe create a little series on them, like I did with a couple of other women that I've read, and analyzed, in past videos. But let's get on with it, because I have a tendency to be verbose and make longer videos. This article tonight is entitled "The One Trait That Makes Women More Authoritative." Research shows RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Supreme Court Justice who passed away recently. Research shows RBG knew the secret: better bitch than mouse. If you want to know if misogyny is alive and well, just read the comments section of any viral feminist piece. And she actually links an article she wrote. She doesn't actually, in this blog post or this article here, actually literally mention that she's referring to herself, but she is, which I think is incredibly revealing. But and it's actually the article that I just did a video for. So, what can you say? Maybe I'm misogynistic in her eyes. Back to her article now. If only I got a few more ducats for every time I was called the A word. Aggressive. At least they didn't call me a bitch, I think. It certainly wouldn't be the last time a woman was called a bitch. No, it wouldn't be. Unbeknownst to her, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's nickname amongst her law school classmates was the bitch. After Ginsburg was nominated for the Supreme Court in 1993, a classmate confessed the moniker to Ginsburg. Her response, better bitch than mouse, And then there was Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the representative from New York, who was elected within the last couple of years. Called a fucking bitch by Representative Ted Yoho, aggressive would have been a tad kinder, but not by much. Bitch has long been the preferred insult to put assertive women in their place. The word bitch surged in popularity in 1920 after women got the right to vote. Coincidence? Perhaps. But from the time Delilah cut Samson's hair, that's a biblical reference for you, men have been losing their strength around those bold, brassy broads. Yeah, that's right. Anytime I'm around a bold, brassy broad, I just fall to pieces. Like my skeleton just disappeared, and I fall into like a big lump of clay. Big lump of skin on the ground. Clay. I don't know why that came out. In medieval times, no one had to worry about outspoken women. Garrulous women, that's a new word for me, garrulous. I have to look that up. I'm going to look it up right now, actually. I don't know what that means. I love new words. Let's see. Excessively talkative, especially on trivial matters. I guess I could have picked up context clues if I had read further, right? Let's see. But I'm going to keep that word around. Garrulous women were locked into the scold's bridle. The iron muzzle enclosed the face with a bit pressed against the tongue to deter any of that annoying jibber-jabber. She doesn't have any sources for this, so I assume it's an actual medieval device, but there's no way to tell based on nothing she's placed here whether or not, how often it was actually used. But whatever. I'm actually kind of surprised she's gone this direction, because I love history. The women who dabbled in medicine were the most threatening of all, mostly because they dared to cross into the realm of men. In the 16th century, those bitchy midwives, witches, were hunted down and killed with help from the women-hating manual of its day, Malleus Maleficarum, the witch's hammer. The book declared, quote, no one does more harm to the Catholic faith than midwives. And then there was some malarkey about midwives killing babies to sacrifice to the devil, blah, 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 and a few more juicy bits about how they made men's penises fall off. It's a titillating read. Okay. I have no idea. The fact that she's attributing all this stuff to women just being assertive or authoritative or aggressive is fascinating to me. But this is par for the course when it comes to feminist writing. They are reaching for anything they can find. Jesus. Flash forward to the 19th century. Assertive women were given a different label. And finally, she has a source here. Let's see what we got. From the Grim Historian, From Masturbation to Morphine, History's Weirdest Cures for Hysteria. Okay, whatever. Let's go back to Carolyn here. They had to be out of their minds to say what was on their minds. With such a long history of persecuting those outspoken shrews, it's no wonder that many women have learned to stay silent and appease the masses. But that acquiescence has come at a price. Yeah, because women are just so silent today. And the latest research shows just how steep a price we pay. Oh boy. Rate my professor bossy if she is a woman. Oh, Jesus. Okay. It's a common belief that women are viewed as less authoritative in the workplace than men. I don't know where that comes from. She doesn't have a source proving it. Maybe she gets onto it here. My nose itches tonight for some reason. Sorry, guys. I don't know that it's a common belief. I've never encountered anyone who expressed anything remotely like it, but okay. Back to her article. As of 2019, only 22% of CEOs are women. Okay. I don't know what that has to do with this common belief that women are viewed as less authoritative in the workplace, but whatever. And the tale gets grimmer for women of color. They make up only 4% of C-level executive positions. Okay. But probably the most eye-opening glimpse into how women in the workplace are viewed is the 2012 study on the site ratemyprofessor.com. Researchers compiled 14 million anonymous comments and found that students were three times more likely to use the words brilliant and genius to rate white male professors. Even more interesting, words such as bossy, strict, and demanding were more likely to be used when evaluating female professors. Oh, God. Anonymous comments on the internet. 14 anonymous comments on the internet, on a website on the internet. Okay, it's a big pool of data. Anonymous data. I would imagine, do they even have a way to know if the people who actually wrote these reviews were actually students? They don't, I would imagine. So it's not really... Okay, whatever. The study is significant for two reasons. First, 14 million is a drool-worthy data pool for any researcher. Fair enough. Second, the evaluations are anonymous, so it lacks the usual pitfalls of self-reporting bias. Fair enough, but it also incurs the pitfalls of anonymous reporting. I mean, there's pros and cons to all these things. To not acknowledge them is ridiculous. Not to mention, I believe anybody can just go onto that website, like I said earlier, and write a review. No way to know that these are actually, 14 million students. Comments actually written by students that took these teachers. Now, I hardly need to point out the obvious. 14 million students were more likely to call their female professors bossy, yet women are less likely to be bosses in the workplace. If only reality followed perceptions. Oh my God. Maybe women don't want to be bosses. Maybe that's part of it. But not to mention, okay, even if I give you the fact that maybe we haven't, maybe our society hasn't evolved to the point where women, as many women, like an equal representation of women who want to be bosses have actually had the opportunity to reach that pinnacle. Okay, assuming I give you that, I don't know what this has to do with anything. Because a professor is not a boss. It's just a teacher. They're a teacher. They don't have employees. They have students. It's a different dynamic. All right. Naturally, you might conclude gender alone prevents women from being viewed as credible as men. Or even worse, assume that women need to be self-effacing and demure to play with the boys. But a recent study offers some hope on how women can appear more credible. I'm going to tell you this. Women who are self-effacing and demure All that is humility. Being a good leader means inspiring the people you're leading to live up to the standard you set as their leader. That's all that it is. So, this idea, I would imagine, about women being bossy, demanding, and what was the other word? Strict. I would imagine the reason that comes up is because those women are controlling. Because that's all those words, they're just euphemisms for controlling. And you're not an actual leader, you're not a good leader if you're controlling. When you're a good leader, you inspire. Your authority inspires the people you're leading to follow you. When you're bossy, demanding, and strict, that is indicative of the fact that you are not leading properly. Because nobody wants to follow you, apparently. But let's continue on. I've been 11 minutes in. All right. Why women need to be more assertive despite the bossy label. God help us. God help us all. I see no indication in the broader society that women need to be more assertive. That's not the problem. The problem isn't that women are not assertive. Not in my opinion. The problem is women are not being assertive. They're being bossy bitches. They're trying to control people. Anyway, let's continue. In this study, researchers asked roughly 1,000 men and women to compete in an online game. The participants were then paired with a coach who taught the subjects game tactics. The participants were then paired with a coach who taught the subjects the game tactics. There were only two variables with these coaches: their gender and how confidently they gave their advice. For example, less assertive advice was prompted by, "You probably have better problem-solving skills than I do, but here's what I am thinking." More assertive advice was prompted by, "If you listen to my advice, I can assure you that my skills and experiences will help you perform well in this game." Those are both awful. Those are both awful ways to lead. The first one, obviously, is not leading. It's a false humility. You're being way too nice. You're trying to transactionally buy the person's respect by pumping them up. It's inauthentic. The second one is bad because, again, there's no humility. There's false confidence. Basically, back in her article now, some coaches bragged about how awesome their advice was while others let the participant decide if their advice had value. Again, both of them are bad. They then asked the subjects to rate the coach's credibility. The results were surprising. Let's find out what they are. The researchers found that gender did not influence how the coach's advice was perceived. It was the way they communicated their advice that influenced their credibility. Ding, 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 ding. There you go. Exactly what I'm talking about. Controlling. Women, bosses, and there are even studies that support this conclusion. Women don't like having female bosses because more often than not, female bosses are controlling. They want everything done their way or the highway. You do it their way or you get punished. Male bosses are not like that. Male bosses, more often than not, male bosses will say, "Here's a task, do it, get it done. Just get it done." They're not as interested in the minutiae and the detail of how you accomplish the task. They just want the task completed. It's women bosses, more often than not, who are so controlling that they drive people crazy. Not to say that there aren't good women bosses. Back to her article. The coaches who used confident language, bragging, were seen as authority figures, while the meek coaches didn't inherit the earth. This presents the classic chicken versus egg conundrum. In today's culture, young women are taught never to proclaim authority on a subject unless, well, they are an authority on a subject. Women speak softer and are interrupted more than men. Where does this come? She doesn't have a source for the first thing. Young women are taught never to proclaim authority on a subject unless, well, they are an authority on a subject, which makes sense. Again, it's a ridiculous argument because you undermine yourself, Carolyn. In today's culture, young women are taught never to proclaim authority on a subject unless, well, they are an authority on a subject. I would say that's good advice. That's just me. But, apparently not. Apparently we should be encouraging women to just, proclaim authority on subjects they know nothing about, which honestly is my experience more often than not with women. They believe they're an authority on friggin' everything. And the other thing, women speak softer and are more interrupted than men are. Let's see. How often are women interrupted by men? Here's what the research says. Again, I don't know what that has to do with anything really, but whatever. Let's continue on. She's confused the shit out of me here. Continuing on with her article. So brace yourself. I'm about to try out my newfound braggadocio. False confidence. I have the most amazing and utterly profound conclusion. And due to my accolades and brilliance, I won't steer you wrong. We don't have a gender gap. We have a confidence gap. Okay, well, that's interesting. I can agree with that. I can agree with the fact that maybe there's a confidence gap, although I don't see that anywhere in my life or in the real world with women. Women seem pretty damn confident these days. How a girl's environment shapes her into a woman. Unfortunately, here's where women get trapped in culture's snare. Parents think they are gender neutral, but girls are often conditioned to be less brazen than boys. Not in today's world. In one gender bias study, babies were tasked with climbing up and down an incline. Their parents would control the steepness of the slope. With the sons, parents cranked up that slope like their boy wonder was King Kong, climbing the Empire State Building. With those precious daughters, they lowered it a lot. Side note, the self-assured baby girls actually climbed slightly better than the boys with the same slope. Just saying. Wow, you are very condescending, aren't you? All right. Girls are better than boys. That's essentially what she said here. Fucking babies. Fucking babies. When fucking babies climbing a ramp, she's got to claim girls are better than boys. I think that signals a deep-seated lack of self-confidence in you, Carolyn. I would advise you to get some therapy. If parents, reading our article again, if parents highlighted fewer gender differences, there would be less gender inequality. In other words, many of today's gender biases are caused by environmental conditioning that alters neuroplasticity. I don't deny that fact. That is obviously true. But here's the thing. There are benefits and costs to that for both boys and girls. Okay? So let's not act like girls are the only ones receiving negative consequences from the way that boys and girls may be raised differently. There are costs and benefits to both. The research on neuroplasticity has shown how you use your brain matters. Never give a girl Legos and her spatial intelligence will develop slower than your typical Lego-loving boy. Never give a boy dolls and he will struggle with interpreting nonverbal cues. Tell a girl to act like a lady and not be outspoken and she will be silenced. Again, I agree with the first part of that, on the way kids are raised influence the structure of their brain. Absolutely. The second one, what parents are telling girls to be a lady and not be outspoken today? Who are these parents? I don't see this anywhere. I wrote about Katharine Hepburn in one of my books because I have always felt she was a strong role model for girls. But my favorite story about my movie idol concerns not Katharine but her mother. Little Kathy was a tomboy as a child and spent her days with dirty knees, playing with boys and climbing trees. When she was 8, she cut off her hair, stole her brother's clothes, and asked her family to call her Jimmy. One day, a neighbor called Mrs. Hepburn to inform her that Jimmy had climbed a rather tall oak tree. Her mother replied, "Yes, I know. Don't scare her. She doesn't know that it is dangerous." This apocryphal tale, okay, so apparently it's not true. This apocryphal tale is the secret to raising strong, resilient girls. Never tell them to fear their boldness. There will be people who call these women aggressive, both men and women. Some will even call her a bitch, but there will be others who adore her fearless, take no prisoners, tree-climbing ballsiness. Let's raise girls who never fear that climb to the top. Well, I don't know if you've looked around at the world, but there are plenty of girls being raised that way. And there are plenty of boys being raised to be feminine. And let me say this too. The people that have been, the adults who have been produced over the last 40 years, a significant percentage of them have been raised by single mothers. Okay? So let's not pretend that we don't know what's really going on here. Plenty of girls are being raised to be masculine, and lots of boys are being raised to be feminine. We can't ignore the fact of that out in our society. That's one of the reasons that we've seen this change, so many of these fundamental changes in our society over the last 30, 40, 50 years. Because parenting has changed so radically. For her to be going on like about this as if it's a big deal, because this is from this year, June 2nd, is ridiculous. But, you know, who am I? I guess I'm just another misogynistic man. Hey, Carolyn, maybe you're just a misandrist woman. You know, I guess we'll have to wait and see to find out. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that article. I certainly did. And again, my name is Al. Oh, I don't want to forget. If you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll look forward to seeing you again on the next one.